In 1991, Metallica released their self-titled Black Album, and it kicks off with Enter Sandman, which would go on to become probably the most popular metal song of all time. But what is it about this song that makes it so great? In my opinion, it's all about the well-constructed song structure and Metallica's use of something that I've been calling the overture approach. Let's talk about that. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben, and on today's video, I want to talk to you guys about this overture approach and how Metallica used it to help them write possibly the biggest metal song of all time. Okay, so first things first, what is an overture? This is a super old school classical music term that goes back hundreds of years ago to dudes with big, powdery wigs. And an overture was typically an opening piece of music that was written to accompany a larger body of work, like a ballet or an opera. Yeah, the definition and usage of overtures has changed a lot over the decades, but around the early 19th century, especially in France, it was really popular for the opening overture of like a ballet, for example, to include little segments of all the coolest bits of music that you're going to hear over the course of the entire performance. You could think of it as being kind of like a miniature greatest hits of the larger body of work, or even like a musical trailer to accompany the night's performance that you're about to watch. As an audience member, this means that before the story even starts, you've already heard excerpts of all the music that's going to take place throughout the show, which builds a sense of familiarity and continuity within the entire performance. And that overture approach is exactly what Metallica did with the intro of Enter Sandman. Before James even sings the first lyric, you've already been introduced to every melodic and rhythmic theme that's going to be used throughout the rest of the tune. I'm going to show you guys exactly how they did it, that way you guys can hopefully use this idea in your own songwriting to write some killer tunes. As always, today's video is brought to you guys by everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Sign up today even for just $1 a month. It's going to give you access to all kinds of bonus videos, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, and so much more. I've been uploading a ton of exclusive content to Patreon here lately, including some music theory stuff, as well as some practice and rehearsal videos, so don't delay, sign up today. Gear-wise, for today's video, I'm playing my awesome Jackson SL3 soloist here into the Peper's Pedals Dirty Tree, which is boosting the front end of my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. I've got that running into the UA aux. Alright, so the song kicks off with this like minute and 15-second long kind of mini overture that introduces us to every theme that we're going to hear throughout the rest of the piece. And the first thing that we hear, of course, is that iconic intro riff. That simple, repeating 4-note riff serves as the blueprint that the rest of the song is based around. Now, it introduces us right away to the kind of melodic language that the song is going to follow. We've got the root note twice. We got this flat third, kind of gives us a E minor tonality. And then we have the flat 5, the tritone, right? The devil's interval. No metal song is complete without it. And that descends down to the 4th. So root, flat third, flat 5, and the 4th. That is the melodic language of this song in a nutshell. They're going to use those intervals over and over again. For example, those same intervals get used again whenever the main heavy riff of the song is introduced. There's your roots, your flat 5, and your 4th being used again in that riff, which also gets recycled later in the pre-chorus. It's the exact same thing as the intro, just moved up a whole step. Stepping up from E to F sharp is a really common Metallica trick. They've done that their entire career. Think about like the verse of Master of Puppets to the pre-chorus, right? It goes from E, then just steps up to F sharp and plays the exact same thing. The band later takes that exact same pre-chorus riff and distills it down to just being power chords that once again follow that root, flat 5, the 4 pattern that we established in the intro. But it's not just those melodic themes that get introduced to us in that mini overture that starts the song, it's rhythmic themes as well. Okay, one of the things I've always thought was really cool about this tune is the way that it kicks off with the clean guitar riff And then we have the distorted guitars enter in, and that riff kind of slowly evolves from this really basic riff with a slide into the full-blown, main heavy riff of the tune that we talked about earlier. Now, the first step of that evolution is this figure right here. Really distilling that language down to its most basic form of just roots, right? E power chords, slide up to E. But that introduces a rhythmic theme that you're going to find later on in the tune too. Check this out. If you think about that rhythm, it's going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We had something happening on that and of 4, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is something that the band also does in the verse of the song, whenever the vocals come in, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So even when it gets to the verse and the vocals start, you've kind of already heard that riff before. It's this subliminal thing that Metallica does so well, where you come around a corner to a new section of the song and it already seems kind of familiar to you. It's just a really intelligent songwriting choice. Why introduce the listener to something completely new they got to wrap their mind around when you can just recycle something that they've already heard but put it in a new context? So after that intro riff goes to the Pokemon gym and evolves into its final form, we're introduced to another thing that gets repeated a billion times in this song, and it's that little tag at the end of the riff. Just kind of using your G, your F sharp power chords. This is one of those things that you don't even notice. It's so subtle, but they sneak that little tag into every single riff that they can through the rest of the song. So let's take that verse part, for example, right? The one that had that same upbeat of 4 accent. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you pay attention to it, that riff ends with, again, an element you'd already been introduced to in the intro part of the song. After that's where we go to the pre-chorus. Again, just recycling the intro, only up a step. Then they power chordify it. That's a word, right? And whenever it's at the end of the chorus and it does that, signature off to Never Neverland part, there's a little variation on that. Now, a lot of times whenever I see people play the chorus, they play that tag just like they have in the other parts. But if you pay close attention, they actually play it a little bit differently whenever that lyric is going down. It's like this. Again, here's the difference. Versus. Again, a small thing. But they're using something that was already there to begin with to construct something that's now a pivotal part of the song. It's like variations on a theme, In that first minute of the song, they showed you everything that they were going to do the rest of the time, but it doesn't feel repetitive because they're doing it in new ways. The heavy version of the main riff, the step-up thing you do during the pre-chorus, and the power chord version of that riff. It's all familiar, but new at the same time. That's what makes the song so freaking effective. It's not just throwing you new riff after new riff after new riff. This is something that I find a lot of newer metal bands really struggle with. They just put too many riffs in every song. They put like 17 different ideas into every tune. Whereas if you just had 1 or 2 cool concepts, and then you said, how else could I explore those concepts? And you elaborate on them and you mutate those riffs around and you use that melodic and rhythmic language that you established in that very first riff, then your songs will start taking on that sense of continuity that we're looking for, They'll feel like every riff in there really belongs with each other because they're cut from the same cloth. I think it's cool too how at the end of the song they essentially play you that little mini overture in reverse, starting with the main heavy riff and then it devolves in the opposite order of how the song started. So you have the main riff. Then it slightly strips itself down. Then a little bit more simpler. then yet more simpler still. So Metallica has really bookended this entire song with this little overture. At the start of the tune, it's almost like, hey, here's all the ideas that you're going to hear for the next 5 minutes. And then in the outro, it's almost like a thank you for listening to Enter Sandman. Here's a little snapshot of everything that you just witnessed. And it just wraps everything up just as nicely as the song began. It's that effective use of repurposing simple ideas that makes this song so effective. That's why I think even 30-something years later, there's still not been a bigger, more successful metal song than this one. So there you go, guys, a deep dive into the inner workings of possibly the most popular metal tune of all time. Hopefully you guys can use that overture approach to get some of your own ideas cooking in your tunes, build some continuity amongst those riffs, and who knows, maybe write something that'll take it down one day from the throne. Thanks as always for watching. If you like this video and want to help support my channel and gain access to all kinds of awesome bonus goodies, sign up today to my Patreon page over at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. Alright guys, it's been fun as always, but as for me, it's time to go slop the hogs and paint the fences and all that other good stuff that we all do over here in East Tennessee. As for you guys, I recommend grabbing your guitar, writing some riffs, and getting to work on your own original tunes. Less clicking, more picking.